Hey, this is Craig Garber with this week's episode of Ask Me Baby. I'm out here on my dock. It's very relaxing here towards the end of the day for the sun setting right overhead over there. Anyway, I got a couple of really good questions, and by the way, keep those questions coming in. Just go to the URL located right below here, and let's get started. First question was sent in is from Paul Wessner. Paul says, what's the most powerful emotion consumers act upon to buy, and how can a service company capitalize on it? There are a lot of human emotions. All of them can be motivating factors to buy. Fear, greed, hope, love, jealousy, selfishness, etc. Craig, in your opinion, which is the most powerful, and how can a company that provides a service, as in my industry, pest control, motivate consumers the most by pushing that emotion without offending or being accused of improper sales tactics? Okay. First of all, great question. You're right. There are a lot of emotions, and it's tough to know which ones to push, which emotional buy buttons to push. I actually have a product called the Seductive Selling System. That's all this deals with. And in fact, if you go to that web page, Paul, there's a sample ad that I use really effectively, which is copywritten, so you can't steal it. But if you take a look at it, you'll see it. It's at kingofcopy.com/seductive, and you should scroll down and look at that to study. But the two key emotions I think about here that you need to use are, number one, empathy. This is sort of like a universal emotion, if you want to call it that. And in a sense, people won't buy from you until they know you're genuine, and one of the best ways that you could show someone you're genuine is showing them empathy, letting them know you understand what it's like to be in their position. You know how uncomfortable they are having bugs and pests and rodents and fleas and whatever it is that you kill or exterminate, or maybe each of these things in a separate marketing campaign, as a matter of fact. So first you need to empathize. I think in this case, one of the things you need to talk about is fear. You need to make people uncomfortable about their situation. Now, most of the time, people use fear the wrong way. They use it to try to, for example, let's take fear of loss. They use it as a snub, to try to snub somebody. But whenever you do that, anytime you take a negative emotion and stick it in someone's face, you really got to be careful, because you turn people off and you actually take them away psychologically from what they're looking at, which is your ad that they want you want them to pay attention to, and you take them into that angry place. So don't do that. But what you want to do is create fear of loss, or in this case, fear of all the problems, the ongoing problems that they're going to have, that they're never going to get rid of if they don't take care of this situation as soon as possible. One of the things, for example, in this month's offline newsletter, my Seductive Selling newsletter right here, which is now read in 13 countries worldwide, one of the ads I have in here is for a service business. It's a rewrite of an ad I did. And in this case, it was for the air conditioning business, and it's a lead generation ad, a two-step lead generation ad right here. It's an advertorial style format, and the headline is, "Don't even think about getting your air conditioning repaired until you read this free report: the 5 most costly air conditioning repair mistakes homeowners make." So the essence of this particular ad had to do with the fear of loss of they're getting ripped off. Okay, so when I say fear, it's fear of something. In this case, fear of being ripped off. In your case, you could be doing the same thing, how the pest control companies are ripping you off, how the big pest control companies are ripping you off. But you also want to make them uncomfortable with the particular situation themselves. But good question, and hope that answer helps you out. It's always important to push those emotional buy buttons, as you well know. Those emotional triggers are what is going to get your people to take action. Next question's from Susan Larange. I hope I didn't screw your name up, Susan. It says, "Okay, Craig, I sell long-term care insurance. I am unsure about how I put out direct mail for this topic. I assume there's some compliance issues here since I sell a state-related policy plan. My other business is financial services. You know about compliance because you were in this yourself. How do I work within those restrictions?" Okay, so basically she's a financial planner, and one of the products she sells is long-term care insurance. Now, I don't know about what state you're in and what your particular regulations are. The lion's share of regulations in the financial service industry have to do with selling securities, not with selling things like fixed products like this, like term insurance or long-term care. So if I were doing this, okay, not knowing these restrictions, what they are, I would do one of two things. I would do a two-step lead generation campaign. Now remember, oftentimes the customer of this isn't necessarily the senior citizen, it's their kids, okay? So I jotted down a couple of ideas here, and I do one of two things. You know, first of all, you got to do some research on this. So for example, one of the things that you would do is research on spending and healthcare habits of spending. And the fact of healthcare spending is that 95% of your healthcare costs, and this is a fact, are spent within the last 5% of your lifetime. Now that doesn't mean for any individual, that means in mass. 95% of healthcare costs are spent in the last 5% of your lifetime. So maybe you might want to do something like what the government doesn't want you to know about your healthcare insurance. 95% of your healthcare costs are going to come in the last 5% of your remaining 10 or 15 years of your life. Here's what you can do about this. Okay? So in that case, what you're doing is you're getting those people who are concerned about spending lots of money. Now, the problem with that is you're going to capture a lot of leads that aren't qualified, okay? So you got to be careful as to where you're running these ads. In other words, the source of the media. You want to skew it to wealthy, affluent baby boomers, okay? And the next ad you can do is just to hit them straight, you know, target them straight down the middle, you know, and maybe something like 7 things you must know, or what the big insurance companies don't want you to know. 7 secrets about long-term care insurance. 7 secrets about long-term care insurance the big insurance companies don't want you to know, or the government doesn't want you to know. So in a case like this where you're dealing with insurance, healthcare, there's like a lot of resentment towards insurance companies and the government in general, and a lot of questioning about that particular authority. So you want to leverage that in your best interest. Now, you'll get more targeted responses to that second report, but you'll get less responses, because if people know you're mentioning long-term care, there's going to be a fairly large segment of the population that's going to say this is a pitch for long-term care insurance, because most people that put reports together like this don't really give you any good information. It is genuinely nothing but a pitch for long-term care insurance. What you want to do is prepare your free reports so that they're educational. You want to be looked at as a consumer educator, okay? And so that's how you want to structure this deal. Another really great question. Keep sending the questions in, everybody. You send them to kingofcopy.com/askmebaby. We've got some really exciting stuff in the next few weeks. My book launch will be taking place of how to make maximum money with minimum customers. If you haven't already signed up to the list, go ahead and do so. You'll get 3 free chapters of the book at a preview and some advanced bonuses. Also want to tell you, this month's newsletter, I feel compelled to let you know, is outstanding. There's 10 live marketing examples in here. In fact, I take you through an entire campaign that I have collected over time of service industries, and I show you the good and the bad. Well, there's not much good, but the mostly bad and the ugly about them. And then, like I said, I rewrite the ad and show you all the right ways to do it. And in the copywriting column here, we have the second part of an article on how to write bullets, and that's a very difficult thing for most people, okay? That's in the copywriting column. So, speak to you next week. Take care of yourself. Thanks for listening to Ask Me Baby, and keep those questions coming in. This is Craig Garber from kingofcopy.com saying over and out.